So, but see, I knew about that shit growing up because my dad was CIA, and I was like born into a devil cult, you know. So we knew about stuff. Well, I mean, I was like thrown out uh, for not being evil enough, and so. But I go in his office. It's like, but they don't. They see when they throw you out, like you don't know you've been thrown out. You don't know you're in the first place. You get thrown out so young. They're like, he's just not our material. And they, you know, you don't remember a lot of stuff. Well, I mean, if you remember, they might kill you. You know, but if you go along to get along and play it right, by not remembering or making them think you don't remember, which is what I do. And so, but I'd go in my dad's office. I figured out how to pick the lock. I'd go in there and go through his shit and ask him lots of stupid questions to see how he react. And I mean, anyway, I found that equation, 1999, or you know, 666.666 times 3 equals 1999.998. All right, and it was surrounded by a bunch of weird shit with my brothers and sisters' names and these esoteric symbols and shit, you know, having to do with like why I was born on them dates and shit, you know, like cause we're like bloodlines, you know. I was being born into a bloodline, royalty, like my last name, Fontaine. Like if like we're getting all Da Vinci Code here. You got like Knights Templar and bloodlines of Jesus Christ, and so yeah, this works good. This is a good format. Pulling weeds, doing little chores and shit while I'm talking. Yeah, I like this. But if the video comes out good and the sound's alright. But anyway, so where are we at? So like the Knights Templar, if you look up the founder, it's Saint Bernard de Clairvaux, or Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. And Clairvaux is where he built his first monastery, because that's the way they did. Like a lot of people's last names today, they were, you know, it would be like a title. The second part of the name was like a title, where you're from, or something related to your trade, or your career, or your craft, or if you're an idiot. I mean, you know, last names, but it'd be like Saint Bernard de Clairvaux. That's where he built his first monastery, and then. But before then, he was born Saint Bernard de Fontaine, my ancestor. Like that's why I was, you know, that's why I was born into the rights I was born into, because I'm part of like that bloodline and shit. And I'm like, you know, like my whole name, where I was born, the date I was born. There's all this stuff that it was all part of a protocol. It goes back thousands of years, traditions, and like okay, like the Knights Templar, they founded the first banking system. The same one we have today, not the first one, the one we use today. That's the same system that originated with the Knights Templar. Look it up, and you know it's like that's indisputable. And so, but they're supposed to be these monks and shit, you know, and they get all this power, and the king's got to go to them for money, and they get more power than the kings and the pope in Europe. And so they tried to kill him off, but they got away with the money. You know, like they killed a bunch of them, and a bunch of them ran off with the money. And they, with all that money and power and shit, they okay, still working. They they just went underground with all their friends because they're like the bankers, man. But the point is, but see, before they became the Knights Templar and took over, power over the church and state. See, there was you go back a few thousand years before Jesus, but BC. And there's the original world traders. The people that founded civilization, pretty much, They sailed the seas, and they found people, they found hunter-gatherers or agrarian, they traded. Trade, we got a bunch of apples. We like them fish you catch too many of. We'll give you, and so they start out small, but then inventions, and before you know it, they're like this big first world trade organization, the Phoenicians, and that's a what's it called? Well, that's where the name Fontaine evolves from, Phoenicians. So here you got the first world traders who are master sailors. They invented all the sailing, the new sailing. Everything come down from them. All the inventions, the ships, how to build. They were moving all around the Mediterranean, trading and influencing cultures and building trading centers and cities, and they were a power that rivaled Rome. So they're like the first world traders, followed by their ancestors, the Fontaines, who are the first world bankers. They're like when the Phoenicians disappeared, well, they didn't disappear any more than the Templars did. It just came time to go underground, to come up with a different way. It's like the kings of Europe. The kings and the royal families of Europe didn't really go anywhere. They just they got to a point where they were sophisticated enough to go ahead and let the bankers, the Templars' banking system, they said, why do we got to put ourselves out there? We can rule the governments through banking. So they retired. The royal family didn't retire. I mean, they retired. They're rich now. They done made all the, and they got the money and the trade system. They control everything behind the scenes, and so they, come up with democracy and all, but they still control it through the banking. Everybody knows that now, right? Everybody who didn't have it figured out is figuring it out. That's us. But you don't hear that. Unless you go looking for it, you don't hear the stories about how the ex-royal families are still ruling behind the system. Because they